I agree with you because ever since I joined the IB curriculum, I find that I'm also better in time management.
So I think that the global perspective that the IB takes definitely helps the students branch out more or have different
ខ្ញុំសូមជម្រាបសួរអាយដាមលោកជំទាវលោកស្រីអ្នកនាងកញ្ញានាងខ្ញុំឈ្មោះចាមវិចិត្រកាដែលជាសិស្សរៀននៅសាលាអាមេរិកកាំង Golden Gate ថ្ងៃនេះនាងខ្ញុំមានកិត្តិយសណាស់ដែលបានធ្វើជាពិធីការនីរបស់ GGS Podcast ដូចនេះវិធានបទថ្ងៃនេះគឺអំពីតើអ្វីគឺជាកម្មវិធី IB ដូច្នេះនាងខ្ញុំសូមណែនាំនឹងភ្ញៀវកិត្តិយសមួយរូបឈ្មោះកញ្ញា Caitlin ជំរាបសួរកញ្ញា Caitlin Would you like to introduce yourself to the viewers please
Certainly. Hi, I'm teacher Caitlin and I've been at Golden Gate American School for 5 years now. I'm currently the head of the MYP and DP programs and I also teach design for grade 9 and 10 on the MYP.
Okay, so let's start off with the first question. What does IB stand for?
Well, the IB stands for International Baccalaureate. But I like to think of it as inspiring brilliance because that's really what it does for our students. Now, we obviously teach the IB at our school, but if anyone wants some more specific information, they can always find it at theib.org.
Second question, what's your favorite thing about teaching IB?
I'd have to say my favorite part of teaching the IB is how we're empowering our students. It's definitely a student-led approach, which means that they're not just memorizing facts, they're also learning how to apply what they've learned into a real-world context, which I think is really great in developing them as lifelong learners.
That's a great response, thank you. So for the third question is, IB was created in 1968 for kids of diplomats. Did you know that? And if you could go back in time, what question or subject do you think they would find the hardest back then?
I mean, I did know that it was created back in 1968, and obviously I wasn't alive back then, but I would think that the subject they'd struggle with is probably design, just because the amount of technology required for the subject. Like, if you think about it back then, computers were the size of a room, right? Like, never mind putting it in your cell phone in a pocket. So I think the tech-heavy approach with design would have been pretty much impossible for them for sure.
So for the fourth question is, did you know IB exams are graded by people from all over the world? If you could be an IB examiner, what subjects would you want to grade?
I think if I had to choose a subject to grade, it would probably be art. Outside of design, which I teach, art is definitely one of my favorite subjects because I love seeing how students explore their own cultural perspectives, and it's just really great to see them be creative.
Fifth question. Some IB students use their service as action hours to create impactful projects. What's the most unique or creative project you have seen so far?
So our students last year in grade 8 decided to do a basketball tournament for outside schools as well because they wanted to raise money for charity. So they hosted the tournament and then they collected all the money that they had raised, and their math teacher actually used it as a way to show how you work out your cost and your profit. So it kind of integrated service, collaboration, and a bit of mathematics. So I thought that was a really good one.
That's a creative one too. So if you had the opportunity to be an IB student when you were younger, what would you have done for your service as action?
I must be honest, I'd probably do something involving animals because they just have such a soft spot in my heart. So I already work quite closely with like PAWS and Animal Rescue Cambodia as it is. So I would have probably done something with like raising money for animals or volunteering at a welfare shelter or something. Yeah, it's just, I love animals.
Everybody does. So did you know that the MYP lets students do personal projects on almost anything?
Yeah, I did. And you'll be doing your personal project this year, won't you?
Yep.
So what have you chosen to do?
For my personal project, I'll be doing how to improve on my baking skills.
Oh, very nice. I hope I'm going to try and sample some of your baking.
Okay, so did you know that the IB is taught in over 150 countries? If you could teach IB anywhere in the world, where would you choose?
Well, obviously outside of Cambodia, because I really love living here and teaching here. I think if I had to choose any of the other countries that teach the IB, it would probably be like Iceland, just because the landscapes are beautiful, and as a country, they have such a commitment to sustainability. So I think it would make learning and services actions so much more interesting in the class.
That would be a good thing because like you already know what it's like here, so it would be like a good thing to explore in other countries too.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So what do you think makes the IB different from other programs?
Well, I think the IB has a much more student-led and student-centered approach, whereas our other curriculums are really teacher-led. It's very much traditional, teacher in front of the class. The IB really gives us the opportunity to be facilitators in your learning. So it gives the students more opportunity to explore things that are interesting to you, which means you're going to learn more and be able to apply those skills in the real world. And I think that the other programs really don't develop students as well as the IB does.
I agree with you. If you could change one thing about the IB curriculum, what would it be?
I mean, that's hard because I think so many aspects of the IB are really great. I think maybe like less strict project timelines because a lot of the more creative projects take a lot more time, you know? But otherwise, everything runs so well with the IB. I don't really think there's anything I'd want to change.
Yeah. Even though it takes a lot to balance like your projects and your works, it's also fun for you to explore different things too.
Exactly.
So, which IB subject do you think is the hardest and why?
Oh, math. It's always going to be math for me. I'm not a mathematical person, so I'm more in like the arts, the humanities, English. So I definitely think math is more difficult. And it's also because it's not just learning the concepts. You now need to like learn algebra and then learn how you apply algebra in real life. Which is great because then you don't say, oh, what's the point in learning math? Because you see the reason behind it. But it doesn't make it any easier.
Yeah, and it requires a lot of critical thinking. What skills do you think IB students learn that other students might not?
Well, I think IB students learn lots of skills that other students don't in different curriculums. I think the biggest one is time management, because as you know, it's very difficult to juggle your schoolwork, your projects, your sports clubs. And so the IB really forces students to be able to manage their time well. But there's so many other things like open-mindedness, international mindedness, critical thinking. And these are skills that you're not just going to use in school, but also when you graduate and go to university and get a career and just develop into a human being. So I think that IB definitely prepares students for the future that way.
I agree with you because ever since I joined the IB curriculum, I find that I'm also better in time management and that I also am very creative in some subjects, and it also empowers me to like do my work on time.
That's good.
So, which part of the IB program do you think prepares students the best for this future?
Well, I think in terms of the middle years program, which is what you're on, the personal project is probably the best development because it's not just an exploration into something that's interesting to you. You have to go through the whole cycle. So you have to do the research, you have to create your product, you have to do a report. So it's definitely preparing you for university and beyond. And then outside of the MYP, I think our diploma program really prepares students for the future, just drilling them on the things they need for university, teaching them life skills that they'll take through that. So I think each program has a little bit of something to help students develop.
I can tell that we have some future leaders in the school.
Definitely.
Why do people say IB is so challenging? Do you think it's worth it?
I think people think the IB is challenging because there's so many requirements, right? So like on the MYP alone, you're studying your 8 subjects, you have to do 2 languages, but you also have to do projects in your personal project and services action. And then in the diploma, they've got to do their 8 subjects, well 6 subjects, and then they also have to do things like CAS, talk, and their extended essay. So I think because of the amounts of work, people think it's so challenging, but it's definitely beneficial in preparing preparing you. So like the MYP allows you to develop as a whole person, not just as like an academic student. And then the DP is really preparing you for your university years. So even though it is challenging, it is completely worth it just because of what you're going to get out of it when you're finished the program.
It also helps students like improve what they want to be in the future, you know?
Yeah.
So what's your favorite part of the IB's learner profile and why?
I would say my favorite learner profile trait is open-mindedness. I think it's very important for all of our students to be open-minded, but especially because we're at an international school. So never mind your students, like all of us teachers are from such diverse backgrounds that you have to be open-minded to be able to understand the perspectives of everyone we're interacting with. So I think that's definitely one of the most important ones for me.
Do you think the IB's global focus makes students more prepared for the real world?
Oh, 100%. Our world is so globalized at this point in time, you know, most people aren't just going to stay in one country or one city. And even if you do, you're not going to just interact with people like you. So I think that the global perspective that the IB takes definitely helps the students branch out more or have different perspectives, develop as international minded learners, you know, and kind of understand people from different perspectives and backgrounds. So I think it's really beneficial for them, especially in the world today.
So that's all the questions that we have for you today. Is there anything that you would like to add?
Well, I think I'll just end off with saying that I think the IB is a really rigorous, demanding program, but it's definitely worth it for anyone who's interested. So if you want more information, you can go check ib.org. And I think that if anything we discussed today sounds interesting to you, you may be a future IB student.
Podcast របស់យើងបានឈានមកដល់ទីបញ្ចប់សូមជួបគ្នានៅអេពីសូតក្រោយនាងខ្ញុំឈ្មោះចាន់វិចិត្រការដែលគឺជាពិធីការនីរបស់ GGS Podcast សូមអរគុណសូមជម្រាបលាបាយបាយ